So, good morning, everyone. I want to welcome all of you to the event today for an amazing topic that we are all eager to discuss and learn more about. I'm Terry O'Neill. I'm the Director of Public Relations for Bright Idea Advertising and PR, and I'm honored to serve as your moderator for today's discussion. This is a wonderful professional development opportunity that is offered to our members by PRSA Maryland. And today, I would like to also thank the Bright Idea Advertising and PR founder and CEO, Anita Brightman, for sponsoring today's session. Anita is an APR and a PRSA fellow, and she is also my mentor as I continue on my journey toward achieving my APR. So I want to send her a big shout out and a thank you for today and for the support of our discussion. So a couple admin items before we get started, because I want to jump right in. We have a lot to unpack and talk about today. This event is being recorded and it's going to be sent out to everyone, all the registrants via email. So you'll be able to watch it over and over again if you missed something. And we will definitely have an opportunity for audience questions as we move through the process. So make sure that you either put them in the chat, or we will also have a chance to open them up and you can ask them directly to our panelists. So at this point, I would love to welcome our panelists. Today, we have our experts, Nikki Bracy from the PR and Social Media Account Director at Planet, and one of our beloved PRSA board members. We also have Adam Kleinberg, who is a founding partner and CEO at Traction. So I want to welcome both of you today for this discussion.
Thanks for having us.
So at this, oh, sorry, Adam.
I'm just saying thank you. I was up.
Yeah, great. Welcome. All right, so let's get this thing started. Everybody on this call wants to know more about Clubhouse, and I'm sure you've either are just hearing about it now when you got the email from PRSA, or you're along the continuum already using it in your PR tools and tactics. So if we could just have a quick show of hands in the comments in the chat, if you are already using Clubhouse, can you please comment in the chat for us and let us know? And while you're doing that, we will go ahead and get started with the discussion. And I think the first and foremost, what we need to start with is, what is this Clubhouse and how does it work? And I think we need to explain it like we've never heard of this before. What is this Clubhouse?
Well, Clubhouse is a hot new social network that's different than other ones that have come before it because it's an audio social network. It's really about people having conversations and talking and joining rooms that are, in some rooms, are kind of like a conference, and in some rooms are kind of like a big conference call with a bunch of strangers, you know, or potentially friends, because you can set a room to be private or public. People are flocking to it because I think particularly at this time, because of, you know, we've all been isolated, and I think this opportunity for connection is really meaningful to a lot of people. And I think that's kind of driven some of its initial success. Some other thoughts about why they've done that we can get to in a bit, why they've been so successful and how they built so much momentum. But the way that it essentially works is, you know, you get in and you see a list of rooms that are determined based on your preferences that you set. What are your interests? So if I'm interested in cooking, I might see somebody, a room about, you know, I'm making dinner tonight. What should I make? You know, and people might just hop on. Or you might walk in and see, you know, if you're interested in technology, you might see like Elon Musk is having an impromptu conversation on Clubhouse tonight with thousands of people trying to attend and listen in. So it's a really interesting, unique platform, and the excitement and enthusiasm around it has been something we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, I like to think of it as a multi-way podcasting platform. So in podcasting, only the host can speak, right? The host and whoever that person is interviewing. But on Clubhouse, anyone has the opportunity to speak who would like to. So you can just listen, or you can get yourself involved in the conversation, contribute to it, and add your thought leadership in that way. So from a PR perspective, it's really great for people or businesses who are focused on thought leadership. Businesses where, let's say you have subject matter experts who you're regularly pitching to the media, you're media training them for conferences, panels, things like that. Add Clubhouse into the mix, right? Like they can be creating their own rooms around a topic relevant to your business. And to be clear, any topic is on Clubhouse. You can find a conversation about everything from healthcare to the medical marijuana industry to dating to finance. I mean, anyone is talking about anything. And so there's an opportunity for any type of business of any size. And you can create an audience or build an audience from the comfort of your own home, from your office, from wherever, remotely. And so it's nice that it's audio only because it allows you to really focus on providing the information that you or your business is interested in providing.
So when we're talking about Clubhouse, you mentioned podcasts, and with Clubhouse, we're talking about social audio, and with PR pros paying attention and taking notice of this, Clubhouse is just one of many, right? Are there other options for this type of social audio platform?
Well, it's an emerging space right now. Twitter is quickly moving to launch Twitter Spaces, which is a similar type of platform where you can create an audio space. I've read that Facebook is also working on a competitive product or feature. And I've even got clients at my agency, my consultancy, Traction. We do a lot of, in addition to branding work, we also do product design. And one of our clients has approached us about including audio in an upcoming events application we're designing. So I think that it's been recognized very quickly as something that people are flocking to, and we'll see a lot of integration, and there's opportunities. I don't think it's going to be too far fetched that we might see an audio space on LinkedIn in the coming months. That's a prediction. Let's call it a hot take.
That seems to be how it happens. They all take suit after a while. But you mentioned, everyone's flocking to it. And I know with Clubhouse at the moment, it's invite only. And so I don't know if that mystique is leading to everyone being, what is this? Do I go there? So what do you think is why the popularity all of a sudden? What's the attraction?
I think FOMO is a huge piece of it. Right. They've done a phenomenal job at creating what I call manufactured exclusivity, which is a great marketing technique. Like in San Francisco, where I live, I'm a member of a club called the Battery. And the Battery is like this kind of club that everyone wants to be part of. And members only get 2 invites their whole life. Right. So they're coveted. And in a similar way, Clubhouse has created this fear of missing out and this desire by creating scarcity of invitations. So, and they needed to, because their servers crash if they get if they scale too fast. But when you sign up, you can only you get awarded 5 invitations. So, they're kind of like prized possessions to give out. So people give them out. But if they could get every member to give out 5 invites and 3 of those are accepted, that's pretty great growth, especially when there's a lot of buzz going on around about it. And they had a lot of celebrities who were early members of the platform. And I think that access to celebrity, and, you could show up and here's Tori Spelling, here's Deadmau5, here's Elon Musk. It's kind of cool. It's exciting, right? Like I'm a big basketball fan. Like the NBA has a watch room, and they got former stars, and they've got, people that you see on television joining the conversation. So it's kind of exciting to be part of.
Yeah, and I would also just add, it's also a different level of engagement that is really focused on authenticity and connection. When you think about other social platforms like an Instagram, it's very curated, right? It's all about the quality of your photo or your video or, things like that. This is really about people just having conversation. It's the difference between a phone conversation and a text message, right? There's something different when you can hear people speaking and hear the inflections in their voice and get an understanding for their personal perspective. I also think, people have just been craving connection. Like Clubhouse came at a really good time, honestly, at a strange time, but, it came at a time when people have been very distant from each other, and they're looking for ways to add that connection. And you're just not going to get that through solely through text or imagery that you can get from Clubhouse through audio. It's just a deeper level of engagement that feels more personable and accessible.
I also feel for like the influencer set that there's almost like an influence land grab going on right now, because you can create clubs on Clubhouse, hence the name clubs. So I'm a member of the brand club, and I'm kind of a founding member of that. And it's a bunch of people I'm, in the marketing industry that are, sort of influential, people like Joe Jaffe and Ann Handley, who you may or may not know from industry press. So not like super famous people, but, people who are in that, constant content creation business. And, I write a few articles here and there, that's not me. But some of these people are like professional podcasters, professional live streamers, and they are organized and they're building their clubs and showing up and attracting hundreds of people every day to the conversations that they're having with their friends.
Someone asked in the chat, is it recorded, and are the conversations searchable? So you're not supposed to record Clubhouse conversations. They are not searchable, so you can't archive them at this point in time. It's really about current, live, real-time chit chats, and you can schedule as many as you want within any certain time period, so you can have similar conversations over and over. But no, it's not searchable. Nothing gets saved to your profile. It's all very real time.
Yeah, Carol Gentry just posted in the comments that it reminds her of the old phone party lines where you would call into a number and listen to different people talking all at once. There is an aspect of it that is like that, right? And there's almost like two distinct things that are going on. There's small rooms that are exactly like that around different topic areas. And then there's these larger rooms that are almost like attending a conference, and you're sitting in a panel discussion and you're listening in. And as a moderator, if you control a room, and the reason that these influencers are flocked and exciting to, like you can have an audience. There's basically a structure of the application where there's a stage and an audience. And when you show up in a room, you're in the audience. But there's a button where you can raise your hand and a moderator can invite you up on the stage, so then you can join the conversation. So if you're a PR professional and you have a client who's an executive and well-known and they want to have a conversation about something in their business, like you could have some degree of like controlling the conversation by being able to designate who comes up on the stage, who gets pushed down off of the stage. So and I think a lot of these small rooms have aspirations to graduate into big rooms. And when Elon Musk, each room has a capacity of 5,000 people. When Elon Musk showed up, they had to repipe it, stream it into like 10 other rooms because the one filled up so quickly. Their servers were literally trembling. So it's really interesting to kind of see this dichotomy. And then there's all these rooms in between that are kind of more conversational, and also people doing really creative things like meditating together, or having a karaoke session. Or I went into one room and a guy was rapping about your bio. Like, you look at your bio and he was like, "Oh, you Adam, your picture is bald and you got a beard." I was like, "What is this guy?" He was a little bit better of a rapper than me, but it was.
So how do you know, so it's relatively new, right? So how do you know as a business, if you're using it as a business case use and you want to explain an example to us? You've talked about influencers. How do you know you have the right people in your room? What are the demographics? Because, as we're looking at our social media platforms, we're engaging in the ones where our audience is. And so how do we know that our audience is there, especially with the invite only? And are there demographics available so you can see kind of if it's worthwhile to approach your audience in that way? Or do you build your audience yourself through the invites?
I would say that there's more psychographic targeting than demographic targeting available. Demographically, there's no, like they're holding on to their numbers. It's unclear what the breakouts are. I do think that it's a very diverse community. I think there's a really broad range of people that I've been able to connect with from all over the world. And it's racially diverse. It's age diverse. Although I don't see many teenagers showing up on it, but so there's that. But then, because these conversations are all happening around interests and people can then follow a club, I think that's how you create your targeting, right? Your ability to make sure that you're attracting the right audience. Because if you've got a appropriately titled room, only people who are interested in what you're talking about are going to show up. It's a young platform, right? So it doesn't have the sophisticated, targeting that Facebook kind of platform would offer. It's a little bit of the Wild West in terms of brand applications there. We could talk about that. But there definitely are interest categories that you can participate in and have a pretty relevant conversation and maybe focused, but
okay.
Yeah.
I know someone asked for a demo, so I think Nikki's going to try to take us through real quickly on her phone.
Yes. Can everybody see this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And I'm not echoing. I'm on two devices here.
Little bit.
You're okay.
Okay, so this is your hallway. And so think of this as like your news feed. It is basically, Adam was talking earlier about how you can select interests. You can follow people. So Clubhouse is going to serve you rooms that it thinks that you would be interested in joining based on those interests that you selected and based on who you're following. So if I follow somebody, like I follow a friend of mine and they're in behind the lens, photographers, models, makeup artists, etc., they would show up, this room would show up in my hallway. This is your profile. You create a profile. You can link your social platforms, your Twitter and your Instagram accounts. Up here, if you can see that calendar, there are additional rooms that are potentially available to you based on, again, who you follow and what you're interested in. And so some of these are coming up later in the day, right? So you can set an alarm for these, add them to your calendar. So if you're going to create a room for next week, you can add it to the calendar, you can schedule it, you can add your moderators to it, and then it will show up in people's calendar section here as something that they could add to their calendar, that they could share, that they could tweet out to get more people to go. So you always want to kind of, if you know of a room in advance, you're going to have one in advance, you're going to want to actually schedule it on here. you can go into a room. So I technically am not supposed to go into a room because I'm recording. So there will be like there will be a notification, but I'm gonna try it. We'll see what happens. So I went into this room. So see, heads up, sharing recordings without the speaker's permission violates the community guidelines and will result in suspension. I don't want to be suspended, but all these people at the top of the room are on stage. These are people who can unmute themselves and speak. Everyone here at the bottom, which would include me, we're audience members. And so we cannot speak. If we want to speak, we have to click the hand raising button, see down here in the right-hand corner. That will signal to the moderators that we are interested in saying something, and they can elect to bring us up on stage, which would put us back up here. And then we can talk. Then we can unmute ourselves and contribute to the conversation. If we don't want to be in the room anymore, you just click leave quietly down in the left-hand corner. No one knows that you left, and everything is fine. That's a quick overview of Clubhouse. I hope that's somewhat helpful. It'll tell you your upcoming events up here in this top section to kind of remind you of what's going on. See this green button down here at the bottom that says start a room. Anybody can start a room at any time. And if you start a room, you can start an open room. That means anyone can find that room and it can show up in people's hallways. You could start a closed room. That means you choose the people that you want to add to that room. So no one would see this in their hallway. It's not something that's available for public consumption. It's just for your friends or your colleagues or your members, right? Whatever that might be. And then you can join or create rooms that are within clubs that you are in. And clubs are basically things that you're really interested in. I love Beyonce. I'm in a Beyonce club, right? So if I wanted to start a room about Beyonce, I would probably create it in that club. And then everybody else who's in that club will get a notification that my Beyonce room is happening. So the content club, it's all about marketing and social media, all about social. If I wanted to create a room specific to social media, I might do it in that club so that all of those people who are already in that club also get notified that my room is happening. Any questions on that?
Nikki, is the profile different if you're developing it for a business versus a personal profile?
So right now, no. But the one thing you have to keep in mind is if you're creating a business profile, you do have to have an iPhone attached to it. So it's somebody's phone is going to be attached to that. And the way that Clubhouse works is you put your phone number in and it will go through your contacts list and serve you people who are in your phone. So you just want to be careful about who you have set that up. There's no issue, but you might get their friends connecting with you on Clubhouse, and really that's your business page. So that's kind of the only thing. Adam, I don't know if anything has changed on that front from a business perspective.
The intention of the platform is very much not to have business accounts. They recommend, and what they're trying to foster are for businesses to have brand ambassador accounts that might be branded, but no one wants to have a conversation with,
PNC, yeah.
Right. And they want it to be a real people behind the accounts. And because I think one of the big draws of the whole platform is about authenticity. And they actually have a town hall club that they have sessions where the founder spends an hour or two talking about a few times a week, just talking about what they're doing with the product and why they're doing it. So they're inviting brands to do sponsored things and to reach out to them if they want to collaborate and do partnerships, but they are not looking to have branded accounts on their roadmap anytime in the near short-term future. That said, I think there's a ton of ways that brands can participate in the platform, from the small to the big. I wrote an article in Adweek about it, where I talked about, I stumbled into a room called Figma and Chill. Figma is a design application. So I do a lot of design, or my company does a lot of design. I have designers who work for me. So I popped in this room thinking it was sponsored. It was actually an organic room that popped up that designers had created. But you could think about that, like there was actually a couple people who worked at Figma in the room. Like every software in the company in the world could have like Adobe could have a room that says Photoshop questions, right? And have an expert who's hanging out and just answering questions, like a real live help desk. In the same way that Twitter has evolved from less of an effective platform at pushing messages, right, but more of an engagement platform, a customer care platform. I think that there's going to be creative uses of Clubhouse that emerge. On the other end of the spectrum, brands have have power of access, right? Like if I have Beyonce in my Super Bowl commercial, right? I can, right after the show, I could have a conversation with Beyonce, tack another $500,000 onto her contract or whatever, and Nikki's going to show up because she loves Beyonce to, hear what she has to say and maybe even ask her a question. So that all up and down the spectrum, there's a lot of creative ideas. And, the mere fact that it's the Wild West right now is what really makes creativity an exciting have that potential, right? On a platform like Facebook, everything's been standardized, right? That free, deep connection with your users has really been subjugated down to these little ad units that you can target really well, but they're just an ad, right? You have a page, but you're not really, your organic posts to your page don't reach people unless you sponsor them. The Clubhouse, it's kind of the opposite. There was Gary Vaynerchuk, who's a famous social media guy. He had, I guess Kool-Aid is one of their clients. So they created a Kool-Aid account, and, as he was talking, every couple of minutes, every 30 seconds or 2 minutes, the Kool-Aid guy would just say, "Oh yeah." And people cracked up and it was funny and it got news. So because there's so much attention on the platform, there's really some great opportunities, I think, to break through. I mentioned Elon Musk in that same Ad Week article that I wrote. One of the things that I said that were opportunities for brands was that, Tesla could just have Elon Musk show up and talk about whatever crazy shit is going on in his head, right? And I wrote that. It was published on a Friday. Sunday night, I don't know if it was because of my article, but Sunday night, Elon Musk showed up on the platform and tens of thousands of people listened in. Terry, you're on mute.
I knew that. No, I was just saying, wow, that's incredible. And, that's kind of where I was headed. We have like 2 minutes left, and then I want to open up to the floor because I know everybody has a lot of questions. But, as we're trying to determine whether or not we should enter in this, when our CEOs and our clients are coming to us going, we need to be in this space, is there any cost associated with it? And, what's the ROI? What's the measurement? How can we prove that, what we've done is successful in 2 minutes or less?
Yeah, quickly I can say Clubhouse itself is free, but undeniably the largest cost is your time. It takes time to run rooms, to participate in rooms, especially the larger rooms. I have seen rooms go for days and they just switch out the moderators because the room is so fruitful and exciting, and so many people are in it having an amazing conversation. But you can set how long you want your room to go. I've seen rooms as short as 15 minutes. But it is a time investment to get moderators, to have the conversations, to bring people up on stage. And, once people start talking, like that spurs other parts of conversation, and you got to bring it back to sort of center court. So it definitely is a time investment. They are starting to do an influencer program, and you don't necessarily need to go through this program that they're creating, but you can also find influencers of your own, and you could, as a business, pay an influencer to have a conversation on Clubhouse. If you're reaching out as an individual person, which kind of speaks to Adam's earlier point about them not really wanting brands on there right now. If you reach out as an individual person, you can probably get some great moderators for free. All of the rooms that I've done, I've never exchanged any money for moderation and bringing people in, but I've never reached out on behalf of a brand in that way either. So you've just got to be careful about how you play it. But if you want your brand to be plugged by someone else, there would be there would be a monetary investment in that, similar to influencers on Instagram or YouTube or TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there aren't sophisticated metrics yet, but you do get to see how many people are in your room. So, you can screenshot that. It's very nascent, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can certainly say, we had 100 people show up in the room, and but it's difficult to get that accurate because people come and go. You only see how many people are there at any one time, right? So.
Right.
It's more, I think that if you're a risk averse company, it may not be for you yet, right? There's a lot of people who just really want to dip their toe in. I think that it's not as risky as some other platforms. I think actually the fact that the content goes away makes it far less risky than being on Twitter, where the content is there. Your post is there. It's in the record, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's being published, where this is, I'm sure they're parsing the data of recording what we're saying, but they say they're not. So who knows?
Okay.
I will, just one thing to add is Clubhouse is actually really good for lead generation, which makes it a bit different from some of the other social platforms, which tend to be more awareness driving. People have gotten really creative with leads. And so when we talk about from an ROI perspective, when you create a room, go into it with the thought of, what is it that I want people to do? Is it that you want to get more followers to your Instagram? I've gotten a ton of followers on Instagram just from Clubhouse conversations. People want to learn more about me. They go to my Instagram, right? So that if that's what you want to measure, then that's your metric, and you need to run the room from that perspective. If you're trying to get email signups, you can do that. I had someone, I was in a room about public speaking, and they were like, listen, we're going to send out the show notes. All you have to do is go into my bio. There's a link, copy and paste that link into the URL and sign up for my email. And you're going to get the show notes from today's really great discussion so that you have it, because Clubhouse rooms go away. There's no way to archive those. And they blew their email list up because so many people were like, this was valuable content. I want the notes from it. So, you can get creative with how you sort of drive people down the funnel. I think the three best areas for Clubhouse, if you're trying to figure out, should I be on this? Should my business be on this? Is one, thought leadership. If thought leadership is important to you and getting subject matter expertise out there is important, do that. Influencers. I think especially if you're a B2B company, influencers and lead generation are really the three biggest opportunities there for you to be able to get messaging out there that it doesn't feel like sales. It just feels like you're providing expertise. And 9 times out of 10, people want to go deeper with you after that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've actually also used it as a recruiting tool, right? Like, I'm really interested in expanding my diversity at my company, right? And from our typical recruiting pool. Mm-hmm. So, there's a lot of rooms, like there might be like a room that's Black UX designers, and I'll go in the room and, join the conversation and, say, hey, I'm really interested in, be transparent, say, I'm really interested in building relationships with talent of color, drop me a line on LinkedIn if you're interested. And I've made new connections with talent in the marketplace that I'm excited to just continue to grow those relationships with.
That's a great idea, and all amazing tips and tricks. And I feel like our members are probably bursting at the seams to ask our experts some questions. So I want to transition over to that. I just want to let everyone know that you can ask your questions in the chat, or you can open up your mic and ask directly to our presenters. Please know that If we can't get to all the questions today, if you put your questions in the chat, we'll be sure to answer all of them and get those answers out to our registrants for today. So does anybody want to start us off with some questions? I have a million, but I want to I want to let everybody else have a chance.
Hi, Terry. Thank you, Terry, Nikki, and Adam. My question, I have many, many questions. My first is there a fee? Well, who's paying for Clubhouse? How's it making money? Are there sponsored rooms or sponsored feeds like on other social? And how hard is it to become a moderator, like plan a session? And then how does that session populate in the platform? Those are my questions right now.
I'll start with one, and then Nikki, you can maybe take the second half of that. You know, right now there's no formal money-making structure. They are funded by Andreessen Horowitz, and it's kind of also cool, like two of the people you could wind up in a room with are Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz. You know, they're on the platform all the time. But they do, you know, when they have their open forum sessions, they are pretty, you know, outspoken about saying we're eager to partner with brands. Reach out to us. I think it's partners@clubhouse.com. And, you know, we'll talk to you about different ways that you can engage on the platform. So I think they don't have standardized ad products yet, but they're probably selling some high stakes partnerships, you know, already, and will continue to do so, and that'll mature over time.
You had a question about how easy is it to become a moderator. So becoming a moderator is really easy. You can either, one, start the room yourself and then automatically you are a moderator, or two, you can reach out to other people, and as you get more involved in Clubhouse, other people will proactively reach out to you, but you can reach out to other people. Most people do it actually through either Instagram or Twitter, just because those social platforms are linked on your Clubhouse profile. So let's say you go into a room, you speak on X topic and you do a fantastic job. Someone might say, hey, I really want to start a room with you about X topic. When are you available? I mean, it all just kind of happens very simply and organically. And then you guys set a date and a time and you start the room together. You know, very, very easy. You can add more people as moderators while the room is going. It doesn't have to be a pre-planned thing. But you know, if you're just getting started and you want to ensure the success of the room, it's nice to get other people on board with you from the beginning, so that they can be inviting their friends and their connections and letting their audiences know about the room. But overall, it's very, very simple to become a moderator. You either start the room yourself or you join a room and add value and people will invite you.
Do we have other questions from our members? I know that someone was asking in the chat how this is different from someone sending a Zoom event.
Oh, that's a good question. So it's different in that, one, you can't see the people. Again, it's completely audio only. And so there's a different kind of level of engagement there. The other way it's different is it's, I don't know, when you're on Zoom, I guess it's a bit more about a presentation or, you know, conversation sort of like this. On Clubhouse, because you can't see people, it's more about sort of connecting deeper on just the topics. It's about connecting offline on other social channels. There's kind of more of a connected social component that you have there where you can drive people to your Instagram or to your Twitter that, you know, we simply don't have in Zoom. The other thing is with Zoom, we've all been talking in this chat. There is no chat functionality in Clubhouse right now. You cannot DM people. You cannot leave comments. You can't record. So it is a very sort of fly by night, almost think Instagram Live, but it disappears. So It is. Someone else asked, is it easy to follow the conversation or do people talk over each other a lot? That's a great question. Every room is run differently. Some people are very specific about how they run their rooms. They'll bring you on stage. You can only talk in order. You will be muted if you talk over some people. Other people run their rooms more fluidly. And so there is a lot of crosstalk and it can get a little dicey, especially if you're talking about a controversial topic or issue. So it's really up to you as the moderator for how you run your room. And, you can literally outline the rules of the room. That happens all of the time, where you can tell people, we don't allow talking over each other. I will mute you. You will get sent back to the audience. I mean, it's however you want to do it. But yeah, there can be people talking over each other a lot. It's also the responsibility of the moderator to reset the room. You'll hear people say that a lot, because people can come and go into the room all the time. So if I start a room and then 10 minutes into the room, 20 more people join, I need to tell those 20 people what we're talking about. So I will say, hey, I'm just going to reset the room really fast. Today we're talking about Clubhouse 101, right? And so it just reminds people of what we're actually here to discuss and keeps people on track.
Absolutely. And I think in the chat, Jennifer McGinley offered some great advice in terms of being thoughtful and strategic on how and with whom you're spending your time, which is so true because PR is all about building relationships. And this is just another tool to allow you to be able to do that. So all of the other strategies and thoughts that you would employ for your PR strategy should go into the use of this as well. So thank you, Jennifer. That's great. Do we have any other questions before we move on? Okay. Before we move on real quick, do you have any PR or communications rooms that you would suggest that we follow?
I don't have any started right now, or any scheduled right now, but what happens when you follow someone, anytime they start a room or even when they join a room, that will show up in your hallway. So ideally what you would do is you follow people who are aligned with the topics that you're interested in, and then more of that content will come up. So like I join a lot of marketing rooms. I have like Instagram and TikTok and things like that set up as one of my interests in Clubhouse. So I get served more and more rooms like that. And I'm able to connect with more marketers and have more conversations, quite frankly, like this. And all at various levels of depth and expertise. But it's a great way for you to either go on and learn or go on and contribute to the conversation to help someone else learn.
Yeah. And I definitely recommend the Brand Club, of which I'm a moderator in. There's some phenomenal people who are kind of in that founding moderator group, and they are far more organized at putting these things together and passionate, like incredibly passionate about it. It's really actually thrilling sometimes, like some of the groups and the energy, and all of a sudden you've got all these influencers showing up, and it's kind of cool. It's like this, the early days of Twitter when it was like this big party room that everyone wanted to be on the party line but you were typing. That's kind of, that energy is happening right there. So the Brand Club is great to follow. Certainly a good starting point. And there's things going on that club almost every day.
Okay. I think we also see some people in the chat adding some things to that as well. If you all have some things that you follow regularly, please share them with us and we can share them out to the group. I'd like to move on and ask if anyone on the call wants to share really quickly I see we have several people already using it. If any of our members would love to share how you're using it, please feel free to open the mic and share with us or let us know in the chat. Anyone? I think everyone might be very new to the to the platform.
Yeah, I mean, maybe something we could do is, I don't know if anyone wants to share either what business they handle PR for, or even just the industry that they're in, and we can kind of spitball some ideas of how you could use Clubhouse successfully. You can either come off mute and mention it, or just put it in the chat, and we can kind of just throw out some thoughts on how it could be actionable for your brand.
So I have several clients I'm thinking this could be useful for, but here's my fear as a PR person. Because there is no chat, because I'm not sitting side by side with my client, and maybe Terry, you have experience with this. Is there a fear that the client is going to talk off script, or because it is so free flowing? When you're prepping them for media interviews, there's a whole prep session. Many times you're with them on the media interview. Or if we're in a Zoom call, I can chat with my client to make sure they're remembering XYZ point. With this platform, because it's so new, is it a fear that because clients are using their own cell phone, you're not really involved? How are you controlling the conversation and the client if you're doing this for a client purpose?
Yeah, I mean, oh, go ahead.
Well, I'll just say one tip, right, is that when I've co-moderated rooms, we always have a back channel. So it's either a Slack or a Facebook group or a Facebook message thread where we're all kind of like, oh, this guy is rambling on. Let's shut him up, get him off the stage. Like this kind of conversation's happening on this back channel. And we're all kind of trying to keep the room organized. I'll defer to Nikki on the.
Yeah, I mean, if it's your client, you could just text with them. So one thing that's interesting about Clubhouse, you can go into other apps. The audio continues to go. Unless you physically close the app, you can be doing anything else you want on your phone while it's happening.
Okay.
You can go into your texts, you can go into emails, you can go into Instagram, however you decide you all want to communicate on the back end, like Adam was saying. You have full access to anything else in your phone without leaving the room. The other thing I would recommend, of course, Lisa, is the same way you're on the interviews with your clients, be in the room, join the room with them so you can hear everything that's happening, and then you can text on the back end.
Matt Scales put in the comment room in the comment box that he's works with Maryland Tourism, and I'm thinking about Clubhouse could get folks excited for traveling again. I think that's totally something you could try and do is, spin up a, conversation about best beaches in Maryland, or, like I would make it not sound so like we're at Discover Maryland, welcome to our room, right? That's not going to work. But if you had said, hey, what are your favorite things to do in Maryland? As the title of a room, like literally make that a question. And then you had a brand ambassador and some people who live there, maybe people would show up, like people who are already interested. I don't know that it would be a outbound scaled marketing thing. I think one of the things to keep in mind with this platform is even if you're Elon Musk, like the capacity of a typical room is 5,000 people, right? Like if you get an article placed in the New York Times, how many people are going to read it? A lot, right? It's not a one-to-many platform in the way that we as marketers think about the many, right? It's more, how do you create influence, and the way that we look further down in the funnel with interest groups, and the same way you produce content that blog posts that may get more focused interest lower down in the customer journey is a way to think about this.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, to Lisa's point, in terms of trying to get your clients to kind of test the waters, I'm thinking, because we have a lot of government clients, and I know that just getting them into the social media realm is difficult. I'm thinking, and tell me if I'm wrong in my thinking on this, that it might be good to test the waters by doing one of those closed groups first, to kind of let them invite the participants in that they want in there, so that they can see it, feel it, touch it, experience it, and get an idea of what it's going to be like, and then kind of like move them out into that big scary universe. But have you had any experience in that area?
Nikki, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I think doing a closed room for practice, like within your own internal organization, is smart. Obviously, if it's a closed room, you're not going to get anything public out of it. But if it's just for practice, yeah, I think that's a great idea. Just so you can see, all right, what do I press when I want to move someone back to the audience?
Right.
Or how do I make someone new a moderator? Or what does it look like when someone raises their hand and says they want to come up on stage? Just so that you know how the actual platform works and you don't feel like you're kind of fumbling in the dark when you have a room full of people. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. And there's often, if you hop on, you'll see that there's often rooms that are tips for moderators, right? Where you can hop on and people are like literally, because there are things that, cultural issues on the platform, like you get a big room and a bunch of people get on stage and then everyone's talking over each other trying to get their word in, and you have to really be deliberate as a moderator. I was on a room when I first got on the app, and I went for like a big walk around my neighborhood. I was on for like an hour and 20 minutes, and I didn't get my question asked, and I was getting really mad at the people who jumped in front of me, So I think being a good moderator is really, and not being heavy-handed about it at the same time, I think is a real critical best practice.
Yeah.
To build a successful following and have a healthy conversation.
Like just if you were having a town hall meeting in person, the same prep would go into this. You have to prep for all the questions that you might get answered, get the key messaging together, know how you're going to facilitate and make it flow. I guess if you pair it with something that like doing an in-person meeting to this, the preparation would be easier. I want to make sure that everybody continues to add to the chat if you have additional questions. But at this point, I want to turn it over to Dave, who is going to give away some things. So Dave, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Great. Thanks a lot, Terry. And thanks, everybody, for joining the call. And of course, thanks, Nikki and Adam. You are just super. I'm not embarrassed to admit that I'm taking notes, too. I'm pretending that I know what this is, but I'm taking notes as well. So thanks a lot for that. Nikki has offered very graciously to, because we only have an hour, to spend time with maybe 3 people in a private session to get them set up, to get them walk through Clubhouse, perhaps to give out an invite if you don't already have one. So we were trying to think of an equitable way to do this. So I'm going to share my screen, and what we've come up with is here. We have the list of the registered participants here. So that's in the Excel spreadsheet. And we have this sort of nifty integer generator. So it's kind of like a little lottery thing here. So we have the first value is 1. The second value is 60. And so we got 54, 40, 47, 21, and 28. So we will go here. So 54 is Mary. Let's see. Yeah, Mary's here. Where's my, there we go. Mary, we got Mary there. And then 40, we got Melanie is a board member, right? Is Melanie, who's that? Melanie Fermenton. Yep, so we'll skip that one. 47 is Karen, so we'll do that. 21 is Aaron. We'll do that one. And then 28 is Ashley. So we'll be in contact with you, and Nikki will do her thing. So that is that. So thanks again for that. So I'll throw it back to you, Terry.
Thank you, Dave, and congratulations to all our winners. I know that's going to be a very informative and exciting session with Nikki, so congrats to you. I want to take a moment to thank our panelists for being with us today. You have such great ideas and wisdom on this topic. I know our participants are really lucky to have this information, so thank you so much. I know we'll probably want to do more content on this in the future, so we can dive a little bit deeper. So thank you very much for your time today. I'd like to thank all of our participants for joining us today for this hot topic. And I hope to follow you all on Clubhouse, so look for me as well. And I also want to give a shout out and a thank you to our event sponsor, Anita Brightman. We are celebrating our 25th anniversary this year for our Bright Idea woman-owned small business. So thank you so much to Anita. And I want to wish everyone a great day, and I hope to see you again soon.